Hey, it's Yolanda at DryerBuzz, class of 2020, co-process soap maker. Soap making was my pandemic pivot. This is going to be about a 6-minute video. Feel free to fast forward, even though I sped it up. There's still some, well, it's a semi-real time making of a cold process. So here I'm going to attempt to redo, not a rebatch or anything like that. I'm just going to attempt to make it again. And that is the Peppermint Tea. This is a soap that I use to complement my coffee. So we have kind of a soap box that has coffee and it has tea, and I'm trying to think of one more. So I master batch my live solution, which means I leave a little bit of the reserve out. And so I needed this to, or I wanted for some reason this to heat up a little bit. So I added the reserve water to the existing live solution as opposed to into the batter. If I didn't want it to heat up at all, I probably wouldn't have. And because I wanted this to heat up a little bit, I went ahead and added the water, reserve water, back to the lot. And so there I'm doing what I've heard is something to do, and that is to anchor my fragrance in with a clay, and that's going in. I started out here with a simple Bastille recipe, which is the castor, olive, coconut, and castor. And then, of course, I'm also going to use some TD to brighten this up some, because, again, I'm going to use an essential oil as opposed to a fragrance oil, because I want it to be just really all straight and good peppermint. What I love about soap making, this part right here, because I literally came from doing YouTubes of cooking recipes, and I was like, wait, all these tools that I'm using over here, I got a chance to use them in this pivot across the hall in my soap space. You can check out the video where I showed you how I created my soap space as part of class of 2020. And there you see me blending in the TD. This is the part that I really love, watching it come to trace and then testing all limits of how far you can go, whether you want a thin trace, thick, medium trace, or thick trace. Because I'm going to actually put some peppermint tea into this, from tea leaves into this, I want it to have somewhat of a thick trace so that they get, so they're nice and suspended throughout. What I am going to do is pour off a little bit. Hopefully I show you that in this video. Why? Because the tea leaves over time will not necessarily discolor, but they will. Not so much that it'll hurt the soap in any way, because it'll actually bring out more natural tones. But what I don't want to happen is for that discoloration to come to the top of the soap. So I have decided one trick that I would do is take off a little bit, and I'll pour that back in at the top. That way, in whatever design I decide on the top of this, it will be just a nice color. And I'm going to kind of almost drop it in, so it's going to create just kind of a real, you'll see, because at the end of this, I want to give you the cut. So this is me. I cut open the tea bags. I'm putting the tea in there, and then it's already at medium trace. So once I, stick blender this, it's going to take it on to a thicker trace. Again, this is the part that I love, because I'm coming into this as a home cook. I do a lot in my kitchen. And so I brought all these gadgets over, and of course, in all safety, what you use in soap, never take it back to your kitchen. And so we had to replace all this stuff in the kitchen, and I'm still adding some of the gadgets. So you can see at that trace, it dispersed the tea leaves pretty well. But again, over time in the curing process, and I'm going to C-pop this, meaning I'm going to put it in the oven so that I can get a nice full gel. And this is a double batch, y'all. Talk about being a class of 2020 and getting promoted and graduating to working with a little bit more oil. I'm now ready. I think I'm ready to start working with even more. So I'll be once I get a couple of other successful batches under my belt at the double level, then I'm going to try and do 3 at a time. My attention span, and the fact that I also do this on a couple of platforms, sometimes live. I'm really still at a point, again, being just in the class of 2020, I'm still waiting for certain things to become second nature, safety first, managing the ingredients well, getting consistent with the trace. And see there I am pouring that plain batter on the top there. That way, whatever discoloration that's going to happen, even though it's beautiful, because there's really truly no ugly soap, right? Even though it's beautiful watching those tea leaves do what they do, I didn't want that coming to the top of the soap. And as you know, the soap top, depending on how you package your product, the soap top is really great real estate. And it is what entices the person to actually buy the soap. And you don't want to always have to explain, because you're not always there to have to explain what went on in the process of the soap making, particularly for those that are buying online. And for those that are buying online, they get to see pretty much the full bar depending on the pictures you put out there. But if I'm out at an event or a pop-up or something like that, and they are looking at the soap with the label, and I'm just doing a little bit of a spoon swirl on top there. So when I'm going to put the label around, they're not necessarily going to see the tea part of it or the tea leaves part of the soap. They will see the top. And I wasn't pleased with the top of showing that. And I just changed the light in there because I did have a live audience when I was doing this, hanging out with some of my folks, my followers, and so forth. And for those of you, when I say followers, because I was a 20-year blogger. All right, so we're going to get ready to move here. My top, I was okay with that. And this is the product. And as you can see, it did, because it was an essential oil, still had a little bit of discoloration. I could have gone a little bit more on the TD or not. I'm perfectly pleased with it. It could be the lighting here. But this is what I do. I create these videos, and if you've already subscribed or follow any other channels, you know that we create these cutting videos as TikToks, as Reels, as YouTube Shorts, and all of that. Put that to music, speed it up, and it's really exciting. Something satisfying that people love. But that's it. Again, this company's our coffee soap. It's a great soap to try. Check it out. There it is.
Got a package. I decided to order some soap bars, and they smell so good. I ordered from this lovely lady. She is on TikTok. I will tag her down below. So I did get a sample. Oh, this is another soap. This smells so good. I did get another sample from her, but I kind of started using it already. These are so good. They are handmade by her. And yeah, go check her out. Support small business.